Hello, everybody. I am really excited because I just found out how to share this to Facebook as well. I've only been doing it to YouTube. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also excited about tonight, my subject. If I'm gonna come here and be transparent, I gotta be transparent, right? And the enemy was on me something so terrible this week that I didn't even do any of this week's content. Like the enemy was on me that tough, and that is not a good thing. So make sure I got my water over here, y'all. Okay, before I get into all of that, I'm kind of rambling. Hi, I am Shar Young. I am a kingdom entrepreneur, newly kingdom entrepreneur, an inspirational speaker. I cannot see who just joined me. This whole platform is new to me, so hello. But I am Shar Young, a kingdom entrepreneur, an inspirational speaker, and I love acronyms, and I say that a lot, but I promise you guys will find out why. They're fun and they define a lot of moments in my life. But so my husband refers to me as the hood's intercessor, and I'm okay with that because I interpret it to mean that I help women who are ready, keyword ready, to shed their pre Jesus season so that they can be ignited into their post Jesus season. So, again, I help women who are ready, keyword ready, to shed their pre Jesus season so that they can be ignited into their post Jesus season. Because I believe that is where the magic happens. At least for me, it has. And I believe every woman should experience this type of magic. I want women to see their shadow in my shadow, but I also want you to see your light through mine because I want you to know that transformation, rebirth, all of that is possible. I promise I am a living witness. So, first, let me speak to all of the replayers. Welcome, everybody, and everyone else who has joined. Hello. Today's message is coming from two verses in the Bible. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking down at my notes because I don't want to babble the whole way through. So I like to be a little uniform. But today's message is from again two verses in the Bible. The first being Deuteronomy 2:7, which reads, God, your God, has blessed you in everything you have done. He has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. These 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. Deuteronomy 2:7, which reads, God, your God, has blessed you in everything you have done. He has, he has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. These 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. And then the second one is John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So the second verse is John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So in reference to Deuteronomy 2:7, even though the Israelites ended up in the wilderness due to their disobedience, God did not leave them nor forsake them. He did not leave them. He did not forsake them, but instead, he gave them everything they needed. May have not been what they wanted, but God gave them everything they needed. Um, he gave them everything that was needed to fight all of their battles. He gave them food. He gave them land. And what's so special about this story, um, which Deuteronomy kind of summarizes the events that took place in an era, and they summarize it through Moses. The ironic thing is that God, even though they were disobedient, he allowed them again to lack nothing. Like, and that's a good thing because again, he had the power to do what he really wanted to do. I really encourage you to read the book of Exodus, the whole book, to get the whole gist. I just don't want the video to be really long, but it's the story of how God sent the people of Israel through a series of hardships where they had to wholeheartedly put their faith in God through Moses. So these people had to believe that God was going to bring them through all of these hardships through another man, a prophet. And again, when you're going through things, you're like, really? So again, they had to put their faith again. God was instructing Moses, for them to do the things that they were doing, and they had to have their faith in God through Moses because he was directing them through God on what to do. Of course, some disobeyed, and that's just human nature. That's how it works. That's why the saying "nobody is perfect." That's why it's a saying, because nobody is perfect, but Jesus, of course. But because there will also be people of the opposite. There will also be people that they want to do God's work. They have the faith and they want to complete their assignments. So it's always going to be people that want to do or be either or. Through those hardships, tests, and trials in Exodus, they added 40 years to a journey that would have only taken 2 weeks. So through those hardships and them disobeying, the ones that disobeyed, caused them to be 40 years in a place where it would have taken only 2 weeks. We all have a time where we've been in our own wilderness and seeking God, but we're doing what we want. We lost. Everything is chaotic. I know in my season of being in the wilderness, God was for real looking out. I lacked nothing, but I was lost. But I lacked nothing. God was everywhere that I was, looking out. Seriously. Making drug transactions that would have landed me far away from my children. Doing things that I know that I had no business doing. God was looking out. I didn't want anything to do with a person as far as a relationship goes if they wasn't selling drugs. Like, how does that even sound? But I didn't want anything to do. I have the one person is my children's father. Other than that, and that was when I was, trying to be like, okay, maybe you don't want to be with those type of men. But after him, same thing, before and after. But that's just the way the enemy was on me. I'll say that, in my wilderness. That was one of the things that I was really, really lost in. Like, really fascinated by that type of life. And it just was not a good thing. But again, I lacked nothing. Lost. God was watching. And it's ironic that the story is about being 40 years in the wilderness, because at the age of 40, I had to retire. So again, at the age of 40, I had to retire. And it was, in those moments that I now realize. So in those moments, I now realize the same significance. It was like that was my exodus. It was really around the time where I was shedding my pre-Jesus. So yeah, just those numbers are significant for me. I mean, honestly, what else could I do at retiring at that young of an age? I couldn't do anything but lean on God, right? Couldn't do anything but trust in God. What else could I do at 40 years old, being told that, not even 40, I was 39. I asked the doctor, can I wait to 40? And he told me, yeah, if you want a chance making it to 40. So not even at 40 years old, making this very life-changing decision, I didn't have any choice but to lean on God. Because again, this was my exodus, and he was bringing me out of the wilderness. So it's many times in my wilderness that God could have chosen much different outcomes for me. There's many instances in my life where God could have chosen different outcomes. Y'all, this right here, over here by me, just follow Coach Shar. Facebook will not allow me to change that. That was in my days when I didn't know. Yeah, just ignore that. Again, that's the handle to my personal profile. Facebook won't allow me to change it yet, so ignore that. But Again, it was times in my wilderness that I know it was nothing but God. Like the time I sat next to a young man, and sadly, the two bullets that unalived him. I don't want to, it'd be words that are restricted by some of these platforms. So, but the two bullets that unalived him were in my headrest. In my wilderness, God was there. The bullets in his headrest, that unalived him, ended up in my headrest. It just so happened that I had my legs on his dashboard, and my head was up, completely off of the headrest. God, in my wilderness, y'all, I have stories and stories. Like, I know for sure it was nothing but God that brought me out of those situations. So again, God was watching over me through my whole journey, waiting for me to get the clue. God, again, remember, he gives us the choice. He was waiting for me again to get the clue. Like, when are you going to get? I done saved you and brought you through exile, brought you out of so many wildernesses. And when are you going to get it? So this brings me to the current situation. When you are in a shedding season, the enemy comes along your journey to kill, to steal, making you feel inadequate. His job is to make you feel like God would never give you an assignment so big that you could inspire, save, and win souls. So the enemy comes along on your journey. You doing good. You think you're doing good. You knocking things out the park, right? But here come the enemy, making you feel like everything you're doing is still ain't enough. You're inadequate. His job is to make you feel like God would never give you an assignment so big that you can inspire, that you can bring people to him. The enemy will get inside of your head. Trust me. We all start. I don't care what it is. We all have a starting point. So, again, the enemy, his job is to make you feel incompetent and stealing any faith that you have. Any faith that you have, the enemy comes. He comes to get it, making you revert to your old ways. And my pastor, he already gave me the reason why. I know why the enemy is on me. It's because I've been coming here with these messages, and reasons, for you guys to relate, so that you can have a reason to get the word and a reference to the word, which of course is the Bible. So again, the enemy, he on me because here I am. I'm coming to give you guys these messages, being transparent, Bible verses, giving you things to a reason to relate, so that you can have a reason to go to get the word. Have a reference to get the word, which is the Bible. So the enemy in these walks, things are gonna be great. Your good days are going to outweigh your bad, but trust me, the the times when the enemy is on you, it is trying. Trust me. Um, Again, the enemy wants you to believe that you're not worthy. He wants you to destroy any thoughts that God is on your side, and will use people to do the destroying. People, and you don't even have to be bothering anybody. And God will use people. The enemy will use people to come in and try to kill, steal, and destroy your faith, or just, burst your little happy bubble that you in at the moment. But we have to learn to stop giving the power. But if I'm gonna be, coming here and being totally transparent, I can't make you believe that the enemy doesn't attack. I cannot make you believe that the enemy does not attack once you have petitioned God to help you out of your wilderness. Because, oh my goodness, it's the everyday progression. Surely, someone who God has blessed with a few miracles, signs, and wonders have no authority or alliance in his kingdom. Not me, not you. Lies. All lies, and it's exactly what the enemy wants us, me and you, to believe. So because once you do petition God, you have full dominion over your entire situation. because you have now decided to depend solely on God. But you gotta be for real with that thing, and solely depend on Him. Again, it's not easy, I promise y'all, but it's worth it. It's worth it. God works in so many ways. It's wonderful. So John 10:10 reads, "The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly." I know that's kind of good on y'all, but this paper always stick together. I can't help it. So the enemy tries to rob you of your faith. And the Greek meaning of thief means to steal. So the enemy tries to rob you of your faith. And the Greek meaning for thief means to steal. So this verse is letting us know, John 10:10, that the thief is the destroyer, but Jesus is the giver of life. So this verse, John 10:10, is letting us know that the thief is the destroyer, but Jesus is the giver of life. I really hate that I can't see who's on, but hello to those that are joining. I don't know how to work this platform yet, but I will. So he knows what's best for us. He does. He sees the outcome before we do. Of course, we're impatient. We can't wait. But God knows that He has bigger and better for us. He just wants us to, again, I've said it in many videos, to allow that thing to rest in Him. God wants us to allow that thing to rest in Him. So while the enemy is smiling at destruction, God is already at work, patiently waiting for you to come to Him for instruction. So I'm going to read that again. Oh my God, I had this inside. Okay. So it says, the enemy is smiling at destruction. While the enemy is smiling at destruction, God is already at work, patiently waiting for you to come to Him for instruction. Remember, He's waiting. God gives you the chance. He gives you the chance. But I've said in many videos, we never know the day nor the hour, so we really don't want to play with that. Like, He loves you anyway, though. And when you seriously come into Him and ready to take that walk, He's ready to receive you. But again, we don't want to play with it. I played with it long enough. And yeah, we don't know the day nor the hour. So I just throw that out there. But He does give you the chance. He loves you no matter what. He gives you the chance to come to Him. He wants to bring you out of the wilderness. I'm a witness again. Let me tell you, the enemy will pull up, park, and knock on your door. Now, I'm not talking figuratively. Ain't nobody pulled up and knocked on the door and any of that. But text messages, emails, phone calls, that type of thing. So again, the enemy will pull up, park, and knock at your front door. Again, this is why I have to say this walk isn't easy. It's because people will try to take you back to who you were. And we can't allow people to have that kind of dominion over us. So, again, I don't mean nobody's literally pulling up, but I mean situations that almost allow the pre-Jesus Mika to emerge. When they come knocking, I'm ready to come out the door. But again, I have to give those situations now to God. I can't, and then I have to forgive them. I don't have to deal with them, but I do have to forgive them. And I, again, have to put those situations now. And it's not easy, but it's worth it, because in the end, again, God has something bigger. His plan is something that we can't even match. So those situations, again, we have to give to God. And again, God said that we have life and have life more abundantly, and not just material things. I mean, salvation from the heavenly perspective. And that's what we should be aiming for daily. It's not easy. It's not, especially when you allow your carnal flesh to override your spiritual flesh. Again, it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy, especially when you're pushed to allow your carnal flesh to override your spiritual flesh. It is not easy taking this walk, I promise you, but it is worth it. Um, and so you can't allow, again, you can't allow um pride to jeopardize your salvation. It is not easy being the bigger person. It's not easy being the bigger person, but my aim is to please God daily. It's people just not gonna do right. People just not gonna do right, and that's between them and God, not you and them. And so again, we can't allow the pre-Jesus person to come out because somebody ain't acting right. They ain't, just trust me on this. Um, it's not easy, guys, but it's worth it. Nothing is worth that. Even your ego, your pride will really allow your ego. And I talked about this before. It will always be why your ego will ease God out. Your pride will always be why your ego will ease God out. One of my acronyms that I told you I love, that was from Reverend Thomas Pettis. But yes, and I've been here many a times. Your pride will allow God, I'm sorry, your ego will allow your pride to ease God out, or your pride will allow your ego to ease God out. Either way it goes, you're easing God out because of your pride. And it's not a good thing. I've been there so many times. When you do that, you give the enemy dominion to come in and steal, kill, and destroy. I'm telling you, you will be on this journey minding your saved business. And here comes the obstacle. Like, you will be minding your business, things are going right, so you think, and then boom. Situations, lives, even taking this walk, you're going to be hit with things because that's just the way it's human life. So what I do know is the situation that I'm talking about, it paralyzed me to where I didn't even want to pray on the church's prayer call this week. I didn't do any of my videos this week. So again, if I'm gonna be transparent and come here and read the scripture off to you and tell you these stories, I gotta be the most transparent that I can, right? So this thing that I went through, it paralyzed me to where I didn't even want to pray on my church's, on the prayer line. I'm an intercessor, and we pray on Thursdays. I allowed the enemy to sneak in and not and take, you know, dominion of me and not praying. I couldn't allow that. I can't give the enemy, I can't oblige the enemy. Again, this season is about obedience to God, and the enemy was trying to make me not pray, and I cannot give in. I can't give over dominion, the enemy dominion over my salvation. People neither. Again, I can't allow my pride to ease God out. I can't. It's just, it's not worth it in the end. And so you can't, again, you can allow people that much dominion over you. But so when I put that thing into the hands of the intercessors on the prayer call, they prayed for me, then I prayed, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. So I put that thing into the intercessor's hands on Thursday. Pastor, he prayed for me. Then all the intercessors prayed for me. Then I prayed. Then we all prayed, we prayed in our assignments. But it was so powerful because it was so much weight lifted. Gave that thing to God because again, I don't have dominion over what other people do. That's between them and God. I only have control over how I respond to what people do. And you cannot allow for a thing to paralyze you so much that if it has paralyzed you to where you're not completing the assignments God has given you. Both of you all, the offender and you, have overstepped your boundaries. Like, you can't, God, nothing comes before you in the assignment that God has given you. There should be nothing that paralyzes you so much that you can't function. And that thing was really on me this week. You guys don't. Like, I'm serious. This was something. It was awful. Like, I couldn't even do my videos and for my shirts, my business, and all of that. And you should never allow anybody to have that much control over a situation. So, again, you don't ever want something to have that much authority over you, especially when you've started professing the miracle signs and wonders that God has done for you. Like, I can't come on here and be professing and telling you about the 17 things that God has given me out of 18 and my husband, and how I manifested them in a year. I cannot come on here and give you the good things, and then when I go through something, I'm behind the scenes going through it by myself. That's not the way. Because I have to come and let you all know that, every day it's a everyday progression. But you can do what I did. God saves. If He saved me, trust me. So, again, I'm here professing these things, so I know the power of God. So that's like a contradiction. I know the power of God, and here I am giving this person this much dominion and control over anything in my life, when the higher power has always come through. So again, when I let that thing simmer in the intercessor call on Thursday, the prayer call, and it was such a relief. So life is going to life, and you have to put that thing in God's hands and move along. If you don't give it to God, again, that's you're allowing that thing to come and do what it's trying to do, come and steal, kill, and destroy. So, yeah, life is going to life. And so we just have to, again, rest assured that if we're bringing things to Him, we and leaving it, we can't worry about it, talk about it, think about it, pray about it, negatively. We got to leave it in His hands. And again, we can't be upset about the things that other people are going to do, because that doesn't have any, that's between them and God. It has nothing to do with me. It's how I respond. So allow me to touch on some things a little before I recap. I know for sure during my Exodus season, when I was in the wilderness, God kept His hands on me. I know for sure when I was in the wilderness that God kept His hands on me. And what's so crazy is I didn't even have to be out there like that. Some people, we choose our own suffering, honestly, sometimes. But I know, again, my Exodus season, God had His hand on me. He made sure everything that I went through in the wilderness, I did not lack, whatever it was. I did not. I didn't lack. I didn't lack for a car, house, gas. I didn't lack, no matter what I went through. Right after I retired for a few months, all I had was the money that I was getting from child support, which it wasn't much. But that's because He takes care of His kids. He does that. So, that was a mutual decision. I wasn't going to do that to Him. You don't just take advantage of situations because you can. Again, I lacked nothing. We, the child support really wasn't, much of anything. And then even at that time, He would say, get your hair done, get your nails done. So I really, again, I lacked nothing. Even with that money, I could still do a little something for myself because of my children's father. That's one thing that He did. So the child support was a mutual thing. But again, I lack nothing. So the verse is Deuteronomy 2:7, which reads, God, your God, has blessed you in everything you have done. He has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. These 40 years, the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. And again, the story is significant to me. One of the ways is because I was 40 years old when I had to retire. We're a year before 40. By the time everything was all settled, I was almost 40, about something like that. So again, 40 years, the story is about these individuals that was in the wilderness for 40 years. And had they just done this one thing, instead of them taking the 40 years, it would have taken them 2 weeks. But again, we just be out here doing us. We just be out here doing us. So again, I encourage you to read the entire book of Exodus so you can get the gist and you'll understand, or you'll maybe even identify with a wilderness and then an Exodus. So the next verse that I spoke on was John 10:10, which reads, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So this is a progression. Again, I promise. It it's still a struggle. It really is. This is a progression. But my good days outweigh the bad. They honestly do. God has come through on some really amazing things, and I'm really thankful. So that again, the good days outweigh the bad. But I don't ever want you to think that this is easy, but it's worth it. I promise you. Um, get around men and women of God, intercessors that you can trust to pray with. Get around men and women of God that you can trust to pray with, because again, that works too. When I said that thing, I gave that thing to the intercessors and my pastor, it was like a weight had been lifted. Because again, we can't walk around and allow people to have a dominion, that type of dominion over you. Because again, we don't know the day nor hour. And my pastor and co-pastors were speaking about so many funerals they have attended this year alone, and we're only at the end of the third month. And so that's another reason. I want to love on people for the rest of my life. I really do. I want to inspire and love, because again, we don't know. We don't know. And as much as I get into God, I still understand that people are going to leave here. But the reason I do understand it so much is that I'm getting so much into the word. So yeah, I just want to love on people because I know how important that is. All beef and not talking and all of that, it's just not worth it. And it's not only because I've gotten married that I'm feeling this way, but it's just not worth it. Life is so short, and you just never know. And so, but we have to understand that if things don't happen the way that we intend, God promises us a life more abundantly. So if things don't happen the way that we want them to happen, obviously God has a bigger plan, something more abundant. We just have to again let it rest in Him. Keep continuing to have faith. We got to let it rest in Him and believe that He's going to allow that thing to happen. So again, the same God that gave me those 17 out of 18 things, I got to know that He's going to rectify this situation as well. I got to give Him the glory for the small trials, the wins, the small wins and the big wins. I got to, and I also have to put those in His hands as well. Because again, I can't profess to you about the miracle signs and wonders if I'm behind the scenes and things are going on and I'm acting like it's all good. No, it's an everyday thing, but it's worth it. So, boldly step out and tell people what God has brought you through. People are hurting. Boldly step out and tell people what God has brought you through. People are hurting in this season, and they need you. They need me. People are hurting in this season, and they need your miracles story, your miracle, your signs, and your wonders story. These messages aren't about me. These messages are about the things that God has brought me through, and that if He has done it for me, He'll do it for you. You were made for a time such as this. You and I were made for such a time as this. I promise you. And God will give you whatever you need for it. Guys, I encourage you to really, if you are needing God to do a thing for you, start seeking Him. So I encourage you guys, if you are needing God to do a thing for you, start seeking Him, feeding on His word, Bible study, prayer, fasting. We have to do the work. Faith without works is dead. It isn't just a prayer. It isn't just a cliche saying. We have to get behind that thing. We have to have faith that God is going to bring us through a thing. We have to be praying on that thing, fasting on that thing. We can't just think that it's going to happen. And then when it doesn't, we're upset. So again, faith without works is dead. That's for prayers, for literal, prayer and actually physically moving something that you're praying for. You got to do the work behind the things that you're praying for. So, start with the Bible verses that I've mentioned in all of my videos thus far. Start with those. Start with the different apps and things that I've mentioned. We all have to start somewhere. Trust me, I did. I did too. I didn't know. I still don't know fully where God has taken me. But I do know that I have learned so much of the word. I've learned so much more how to depend and let a thing rest in Him. I've learned how to pray better. I've learned how to learn scripture better. I've learned how to believe and have more faith. Yes, getting married has helped a lot of those things. But my faith in God has also helped a lot of those things, because if I hadn't had the faith, then He never wouldn't have granted me those 17 of 18 things. So again, start with those Bible verses that I mentioned thus far up until this video. There's a few more on YouTube if you're interested. Remember, we all start somewhere. If this has helped you or anyone you may know, please share this on whatever social media handle this may be showing up for you on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube. Please hit the share, like, subscribe, one of those buttons, y'all. I'm new to this, okay? So, I don't know what God is doing in this season. I don't know what God is doing in the season, but what I do know is I don't want Him to do it without me. I definitely don't. So a few apps for you to reference are the Bible for Women and Daily Studying. It's an app. The Study Bible, which has a few different transcriptions, such as the Message Bible and the New Living Testament. Be really careful with the transcriptions that you download or that you read, because the words have been changed over time in the words of my pastor, John Lowe. And so the meaning can sometimes mean something different. So what I do is take a New King James version of maybe a downloaded app or something. I'll read the King James version of the scripture, and then I'll read it in the Message or the New Living Testament version that way, so that you'll get the full gist of what the verse is saying. So again, another good app is the Amplified Bible app. I also have that one downloaded. This version is really is written in a dialogue that you can really understand and interpret. So, and anything by Charles Stanley is also phenomenal. Anything by Charles Stanley is also phenomenal. So remember, as I close, I don't come here, guys, to brag, boast. I don't come here to tell you these stories to impress you. I truly don't. In this season, it's about obedience, and this is a God-given assignment. And so again, I'm not here to impress you, but to impress upon you that if God did it for me, He can and He will do it for you. You have the same access to Him as I do. You have the same access to the kingdom as I do. Trust me, if He did it for me, I promise you, He will do it for you. Thanks for listening, guys. I guess the original series with the t-shirts and stuff will start back. So let me say this really quick. I don't want to come out with shirts that the material isn't any good. I'm not trying to get a quick dollar. I want quality material. So the reason why the shirts aren't they don't have a link to them yet is because I'm not liking these vendors. So, but I'm still going to keep pumping out the stories and things of that nature so that when I do find the vendor, which I'm I'm doing now. Look, well, not now because I'm on video, but you know what I mean. I'm going through those. So I will soon have links for the merch. Not now though, because again, I don't want to come out with just anything. That's I want you to be able to keep your shirt as a keepsake and be able to wear it and wash it over time, and it it's good over time. That type of material. So, and if anybody spend money with you, I want you to get quality out of whatever I'm selling. So that's another reason why, if you haven't seen a link and you're wondering, that's why. Again, ignore this over here. This Coach Shar Siobhan. I'm trying to change it. Facebook is really, I don't know. But thanks for listening. I just wanted to explain that little bit at the end. I am so trying to get these videos out before this time, but the enemy. But he won't win because this is a God-given assignment and this is a season of obedience. So I will see you all tomorrow. I love you. Good night.